Hello everyone, welcome back from vacation. Today we're going to study adverb clauses and phrases. Adverb clauses show a relationship between ideas in two clauses. They begin with subordinators. Subordinators? Yeah, here we have some. Adverb clauses, as I already mentioned, show a relationship between ideas in two clauses. So I would like you to read these three examples. Even though she has an addiction, she is already under control. They will visit the mall when they get paid. Since money is always necessary, a job is mandatory. So in the three examples provided, we are using adverb clauses. Let's see how this works. Forming adverb clauses. An adverb clause has a subject and a verb, but it is a dependent clause. It is not a complete sentence. Dependent clause? Yeah, you might have heard about dependent or subordinate clauses, but you might have also heard about independent or main clauses. So let me explain a little bit more about this. As you can see, the sentence says, I always listen to music because it makes me feel good. I always listen to music is the independent or main clause. Why? Well, because it has a subject and a predicate and it expresses a complete idea. But the second part is just that. It's part of a sentence because it makes me feel good. It doesn't make sense. So it can't stand alone. Let's see the second example. Since French is very difficult to me, I study every day. So in this case, which is the dependent clause? You're right, since French is very difficult to me, and I study every day is the independent clause. Very good. When I left my wallet in the bus, I started to cry. Hey, you did a great job. I started to cry is the independent clause. And when I left my wallet in the bus is the dependent clause. It is important to use a comma when another clause, like the second and third example here, when they begin the sentence. So we need a comma, right? In the first example, we don't need a comma. Why not? Well, the subordinator is in the middle. Let's correct the mistake. But do not forget this. Another clause has a subject and a verb. Shopping is my favorite activity because it's fun. So, because it's fun is the adverb clause. But does it have a subject? No, right? Does it have a verb? Yes, it has a verb. But it is not an adverb clause because it doesn't have a subject. Shopping is my favorite activity because it is fun. When go to the supermarket, I always make a list. Very good. When I go to the supermarket, I always make a list. And the last one, I went to the psychologist because it was necessary. Hey, well done! I went to the psychologist because it was necessary. Now, let's see, let's study a little bit more about this. We use because and since to give reasons. Yeah, because is more common. Let's see the examples. Because studying is necessary, more people have started a major this year. Coronavirus treatment is important since it is very difficult to overcome this disease on one's own. So, in the two examples provided, we're giving reasons, right? We can also use although, even though, and though in our adverb clauses to show contrast or something unexpected. Although is more formal. Even though I love chocolate, I hardly ever eat it. Look at the contrast between the two clauses. It is true, guys, I love chocolate, but I hardly ever eat it, right? Shopping is one of her favorite hobbies, though she doesn't have much money. So, notice the contrast between the two clauses. And in this case, we have to remember that using a comma with adverb clauses that include these subordinators is important, whether they begin the sentence or end the sentence. We need a comma. We use while to show contrast. Yeah, like even though, like although, right? We use while to show contrast. For example, shopping addicts buy things they don't need, while non addicts tend to buy mostly things they need. Notice the comma. So we have to use a comma whether the adverb clause begins or ends the sentence when they show contrast. We use as, since, when, and while in adverb clauses to express time relationships. It has been 3 weeks since I went out. While she was at the mall, she bought many useless things. We can reduce adverb clauses, but let's pay attention to how this works. In many cases, you can reduce adverb clauses. We have to omit the subject and we have to use the verb plus ing, like the example provided. While he was shopping, he bought a jacket. While shopping, he bought a jacket. Notice that we have omitted the subject in the example provided. And we have to use the verb with ing. In this case, the verb is in ing already because we're using past continuous. Let's see more examples. We're reducing clauses that give reasons, okay? So right now we focus on reducing clauses that give reasons. And we can reduce clauses that give reasons when the verb is in simple past, present perfect, or past perfect, okay? We're talking about giving reasons. So for the simple past, we have to omit the subordinator and we have to omit the subject and the verb needs to be with ing. Because he was cautious, he didn't spend much money. Now we omit the subordinator because it's not here anymore, and we have to look for the verb. In this case, we're talking about the verb be, so we have to use it with ing. Being cautious, he didn't spend much money. Now let's focus on reducing clauses that give reason, but this time for the present perfect and past perfect. So what do we have to use, or what do we have to change? Well, we have to change have for having, and then we have to use ing forms, and they usually begin the subject, like the example provided. Since she has gotten help, she no longer needs me. We're omitting what? We're omitting the subordinator, and we're using have, having. And the verb past participle. Having gotten help, she no longer needs me. Now, reducing time clauses. You can reduce a time clause when the verb is in the present progressive or past progressive. We have to omit the subject and the form of the verb be. You can save money while you are going to college. So I have to omit the subject. If you see, the subject has disappeared. And then I have to omit the verb be. And I have to focus on the verb, right? Going. So you can save money while going to college. With the simple present or simple past, we have to omit the subject and we have to use the verb plus ing. I go to the supermarket on weekends before I visit my family. So, I go to the supermarket on weekends before visiting my family. Notice that I have omitted the subject and I'm using the verb with ing. Using subordinators to express purpose. We can use so or so that to show a reason or purpose. Clauses with so that usually come after the main clause or the independent clause. Let's see some examples. People go to psychologists so that they can talk about their problem. I have a budget so I don't spend more than necessary. You can also show a reason or purpose with in order to, or when the subject of the main clause and the adverb clause are the same. Don't repeat the subject. I go to the supermarket to buy food, or I go to the supermarket in order to buy food. So notice that the subject in the first clause is the same as in the second clause, but we're not using it. We had omitted. Why? Because of reducing, because we're reducing the clauses, right? So thank you so much for watching, guys. If you happen to have any questions, so please contact me anytime.